If someone had been filming that morning, and someone usually was, they would have caught the moment everything shifted. Not with a fight, not with a scream, but with a bark. A bark that cut through the lazy hum of early morning traffic, through the honking of buses, and the muffled chatter of teenagers filing into the school. It wasn't a random bark either. It was sharp, intentional, like a warning shot from the universe. And it saved her. Samantha Jordan was halfway through the school gate when it happened. Her backpack strap was digging into her shoulder, her hoodie was 2 sizes too big, and her head was down, just like always. If she didn't make eye contact, maybe they'd leave her alone. That had worked yesterday. Kind of. Not today. They were already waiting. 4 boys near the flagpole, one with a baseball cap pulled low, another chewing gum like it owed him money. They didn't shout. They didn't laugh. This time they just stood in her way. She slowed down, heart thudding like it always did. She was used to this. It didn't make it easier. "Morning, Sammy," one of them said with mock cheer. She didn't respond. "You forget something?" another asked. He gestured to her hoodie pocket, where a note peeked out. One they'd planted the day before with a crass drawing and a message no girl should ever see, let alone receive. She tried to walk past. The kid with the cap stepped in front of her. "We're talking to you." That's when the bark came. It startled everyone. Samantha, the boys, even the assistant principal, unlocking the main office door. Across the street, parked by the curb, sat a tan-colored military-style pickup truck. In the front seat, a German shepherd stood with its paws on the dashboard. Its ears were high, its teeth were bared, and its eyes were locked on them. The driver door opened. A tall man in a faded green t-shirt stepped out, one hand adjusting the brim of his ball cap, the other holding a stainless steel travel mug. He was broad-shouldered, tan, and had a quiet kind of intensity about him. The kind of guy who never had to raise his voice to be heard. He didn't say anything. Not yet. Just gave a low whistle. The dog hopped down from the truck and sat beside him, obedient and alert. The boys backed off, muttering something about being late for homeroom. Samantha just stood there, unsure whether to run, cry, or thank someone. "You okay?" the man asked, crossing the street with the dog by his side. His voice was deep, calm, like gravel warmed by sunlight. Samantha gave a small nod. The man looked down at her, then at the spot the boys had just occupied. His gaze lingered for a beat too long. "I'm Cole," he said, "and this is Max." The dog wagged its tail once, as if on cue. She didn't speak, just stared. "You heading inside?" Another nod. "Let me walk you." She hesitated, but when Max gently bumped her leg with his snout, she found her feet moving. They walked the short path to the front doors together. A few students whispered. Some filmed. But nobody said a word to her. Cole tipped his hat to the assistant principal and waited until Samantha was safely inside before turning back. Max stayed at his heel. They didn't come for drama, but they were ready for it. Cole Davis had been back from Afghanistan for 7 months, but mornings still felt like patrol. He and Max drove into that school zone every day at 7:25 sharp. Not because he had kids, not because it was on the way, because of Samantha. He didn't know her name until today, but he'd seen enough. The way she hunched into herself, the way she was always the last to walk in and the first to leave. The way those boys, those same damn boys, waited for her at the corner like buzzards circling something already hurt. Cole had fought grown men with assault rifles. He'd seen villages burned, civilians tortured, peace brokered with lies. But nothing burned quite like watching cruelty happen 2 blocks from a donut shop, while people did nothing. Max had noticed first. The dog's instincts were sharper than any man's. And when Max growled, Cole paid attention. This morning proved it. Something was going to happen. And if they hadn't pulled up when they did. He didn't finish the thought. Back in the truck, Max hopped into the seat and looked out the window like it was just another day. Cole sipped his coffee and watched the rearview mirror. Maybe it wasn't a war zone, not officially, but bullies were just insurgents, without uniforms. And Samantha Jordan? She was in enemy territory. Inside, Samantha sat in first period math, pretending to take notes. Her mind was still outside. On the bark, on the man, on the dog, on the fact that, for the first time in months, she didn't feel afraid. She'd seen the name stitched on the dog's harness, K9 Max, and on the man's wrist, a tan bracelet with black writing. She knew what it was. Her father wore one, too, before prison. A memorial band for a fallen comrade. That man was military. She was sure of it. But why was he here? Her pen tapped against her notebook. She barely heard the teacher. Then her phone buzzed under the desk. A text from a blocked number. "You think your new boyfriend and his dog scare us? Watch your back." Her fingers went numb. She put the phone down and tried to focus. But now she knew something. Whatever was coming wasn't over. And for once, she wasn't sure she had to face it alone. Meanwhile, Cole sat outside the school in the shade of his truck. Max curled in the back seat. He pulled out a small tablet and reviewed the footage from his dashboard cam. He'd caught everything. The boys, their posture, the way one of them touched her wrist. It was all there, and it was all going to the sheriff, quietly. "Some things," he muttered, "you don't let slide." His phone buzzed. A voicemail from his VA counselor. He let it go. He knew what she'd say, that he shouldn't get involved, that he needed boundaries. He had boundaries. They just didn't include turning a blind eye. If you're someone who believes in second chances, justice, and the bond between animals and people, don't forget to subscribe to Heroes for Animals right here on YouTube. We're telling stories that matter, one voice at a time. The next day, Samantha stepped off the bus with her hoodie still up, but this time she looked across the street before walking in. Sure enough, the truck was there. Max was watching her. She gave a small smile, and Max wagged his tail. She wasn't sure if she was ready to talk to them again, but she was sure of one thing. They saw her, and for now, that was enough. What she didn't know, what no one knew yet, was that Cole Davis hadn't been in this town by accident, that Max had once saved a life in combat, a child's life, and that child had a connection to Samantha she had yet to uncover. But that, as they say, is a story for another day. The next morning, the air smelled like rain. Samantha stood at the bus stop wearing the same gray hoodie she always did, hood pulled up like armor. But her eyes, those were different. She kept glancing down the street, searching. By the time the bus pulled up, she hadn't seen them. No tan truck, no dog, no quiet soldier sipping coffee. Just the usual. Rusted stop sign, crumpled soda cans in the grass, and the lingering taste of anxiety. She stepped onto the bus and sat in the front row. Just in case, the other kids filed in slowly, and with them came the whispers. A few sideways glances, then laughter that wasn't about her but might as well have been. Then he showed up. Trevor Morales, the one with the stupid backwards cap and too much lip for his GPA. He didn't say anything right away, just walked past her and bumped her shoulder harder than he needed to. Samantha didn't flinch, but Max would have barked. She missed that bark. Meanwhile, Cole Davis was in the sheriff's office, sitting across from a desk cluttered with case files and stale coffee cups. Sheriff Granger, a barrel-chested man with a nicotine rasp in his voice, rubbed his temples. "Cole, you know I respect your service, he said, but you can't go charging into high school drama with your dog like you're kicking down doors in Kandahar." Cole didn't blink. It wasn't drama. It was harassment. "You got footage?" "I brought a flash drive." Granger sighed. "Buddy, we're small-town law enforcement. You want justice? You're in the wrong zip code." Cole leaned forward. "I don't want justice. I want a paper trail. That way, when something happens, we don't pretend it came out of nowhere." The sheriff took the drive, grumbling under his breath. "You still on meds?" Cole stared at him. Right. Dumb question. The door swung open, and Deputy Harper poked his head in. Hey, we got another call from the high school. Teacher says one of the boys had a knife in his locker. Might be connected to some threats. Granger looked at Cole. Cole didn't smile. Told you. Paper trail. At school, Samantha's day went sideways around third period. She opened her lockers to find the inside smeared with something brown and sticky. Peanut butter, she thought, until she saw the crushed granola bars stuck to it like cement. On top of the mess was a note. Your dog won't save you now. It wasn't just bullying anymore. It was a message. She wiped it off with napkins from the bathroom, kept her head down, and didn't say a word. But the ache in her chest wasn't fear anymore. It was fury. When lunch came, she didn't sit in the corner like usual. She walked outside, past the picnic tables and down the sidewalk toward the fence by the staff parking lot. She needed air and space. That's when she saw him again. Cole stood beside his truck, Max at his heel. He wasn't watching her, not exactly, but he knew she was there. She walked straight over. You left yesterday, she said. Cole turned. Didn't mean to disappoint you. I didn't say I was disappointed. Max trotted up and nudged her hand. She looked down at the dog, then back at the soldier. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why do you care? It hung there in the air like mist. Cole took a moment. Because someone should, he said simply. And because sometimes the worst wars happen after the battlefield. She didn't understand all of it, but she felt it. You ever teach people? Cole raised an eyebrow. Karate? No, not that dojo stuff, real stuff. The kind of stuff girls like me need. He looked at her for a long time. Then he nodded once. That Saturday, Cole cleared out space behind the Veterans Center. It wasn't much. Just a gravel lot, a few cones, and a weather-worn wooden bench, but it was enough. Samantha showed up in sneakers and leggings, nervous, but ready. He taught her how to stand, how to breathe, how to keep her balance when someone twice her size pushed. Max lay nearby, tail wagging when she got something right. You're not training to fight, Cole said. You're training to not freeze. After half an hour, she was sweating. Her arms burned, her legs trembled, but she didn't quit. Again, he said. She tried. And again, and again. When they stopped, she sat on the bench with a water bottle, panting. You any good in the military? She asked. Cole leaned against the fence. I was the guy they sent in last, after the talking stopped. So, dangerous? He didn't answer right away. Efficient. Samantha nodded, then she looked at him. Did you lose someone? He looked down. Max's ears perked slightly. My daughter, he said. 14, suicide. Samantha froze. I was deployed, he continued. Didn't even know she was being harassed until it was too late. My ex didn't tell me everything. The school didn't either. He didn't raise his voice, but something in the silence was louder than any shout. Samantha looked at Max, then at Cole. I'm sorry. He nodded once. Me too. By the next week, 2 more kids had joined them behind the center. A boy with bruises on his arm. A girl who spoke only when Max was nearby. Cole didn't ask questions. He just trained them. He taught them to use their voice like a siren, to walk with their head high, to never apologize for taking up space. Samantha was the fastest learner. She practiced at home, at night, in her backyard with her earbuds in and her fists clenched. Her mom thought she was just dancing again. She didn't ask. Samantha didn't tell. It wasn't about secrecy. It was about strength. One morning, Samantha walked into school and found something taped to her locker. A dead bird. Neck snapped. Eyes gone. But this time, she didn't flinch. She pulled out her phone, took a photo, and walked to the office. Security footage, she said. You'll want it. Then she walked to class. Trevor glared at her from across the hall. She stared back. No fear, just fire. That afternoon, Cole drove to the school parking lot, waiting for Samantha's dismissal. He didn't expect company. Sheriff Granger's patrol car pulled up beside him. You've been busy, Granger said. Cole stayed seated. So have your deputies. The sheriff sighed. We're building a case, but we need more. You'll have it, Cole said. Granger glanced at Max. That dog scares the hell out of my officers. Cole smirked. That's why I trust him more than most people. The sheriff hesitated, then handed over a folder. Check this out. Inside were photos, screenshots, old case files. Cole froze. One of the boys in the photos, Trevor Morales, had been questioned in an assault case last year involving a younger student. Charges were dropped. Witnesses disappeared. His uncle? On the school board. Cole's jaw tensed. They buried it, he said. They buried a lot, Granger replied, but not anymore. That night, Samantha found a note in her mailbox. It wasn't handwritten. It was printed in block letters. Stop talking to the dog man, or your mom gets hurt. She stared at it for a long time. Then she put it in a Ziploc bag, dropped it in her backpack, and went back inside. She didn't cry. She didn't tell her mom. She just charged her phone. Tomorrow, she was showing Cole. Because now it wasn't about her anymore. And she had a pack now. The letters stayed in Samantha's backpack all night. She didn't tell her mom. There wasn't a point. Her mom had enough to worry about with her double shifts, overdue rent, and a car that wheezed like it had asthma. Samantha had learned not to add to the pile, but she didn't sleep. The words were burned into her brain. Stop talking to the dog man, or your mom gets hurt. She stared at her ceiling in the dark, her fists clenched so tight she thought her nails might break skin. By morning, her decision was made. She didn't care who these guys thought they were. She wasn't backing down. And if they came for her, they'd regret it. Cole Davis was already at the Veterans Center before sunrise. He moved through his morning routine with quiet precision. Coffee, push-ups, then drills with Max. The dog responded like a machine, silent, efficient, deadly if needed. Cole didn't talk much while he trained. He didn't think about what came next. That was the soldier in him, always working the moment, always staying 2 steps ahead. But this morning felt different. Max knew it too. He kept glancing toward the gate like something was coming. It was. Samantha arrived at 6:45, hoodie up, jaw tight. She didn't greet Max the way she usually did. She walked right up to Cole and pulled a clear Ziploc bag out of her backpack. Inside was the note. Cole read it once, then again. The only movement was in his jaw, grinding once before going still. Do you recognize the handwriting? He asked. It's typed. He held the bag up to the sunlight. This wasn't a joke. I know. Your mom have enemies? She works 3rd shift at the hospital. She barely has time to have co-workers. Cole nodded. I'll handle this. Samantha shook her head. No, we handle this. He looked at her, surprised by the steel in her voice, and maybe a little proud. Later that day, Samantha sat in history class pretending to care about the American Revolution. The teacher droned on about muskets and taxation without representation, but all she could hear was the thump of her own heartbeat. She wasn't scared, not really, but she was ready. Trevor Morales sat 2 rows behind her, chewing on a pen cap and whispering something to the kid next to him. He hadn't said a word to her since the dead bird in her locker, but the smirk was still there, like he knew he was protected. But today, Samantha didn't look away. She turned, stared right at him, and smiled. Not a friendly smile, not a scared one either. It was the smile of someone who knew something he didn't. He stopped laughing. By lunch, things had shifted. Someone had spread a rumor that Samantha was working with the police. Another rumor said she was in witness protection. Another, dumber, one claimed she was secretly dating the guy with the military dog and that Max was trained to kill anyone who messed with her. She let the rumors fly. Let them run wild. The truth would hit harder later. After school, she didn't head home. She walked 3 blocks to the gas station where Cole had set up a small booth near the lot, passing out flyers for a community safety program. Max sat in the shade under a patio umbrella. A little girl with a Dora backpack was petting him. Cole nodded as Samantha approached. Someone's been talking, he said. 3 parents asked me if you were an undercover cop. I told them I was a ninja, she deadpanned. He smirked. Solid answer. She handed him a USB stick. This is from my friend Ava. Her cousin used to date Trevor. She saved screenshots, messages, pictures. One of them shows Trevor holding a knife in someone's driveway. Cole took the drive and nodded. "We're building a case." Samantha looked out toward the street. "We're going to need more than a case." "We've got more," Cole said. "We've got community." Word spreads fast when a predator's name hits the right ears. She tilted her head. "You think that'll scare him?" "No," he replied. "But it'll isolate him. And an isolated coward is easier to break than a protected one." That night, Cole made another trip to the sheriff's office. He handed over the flash drive and the threat letter. Granger, looking more tired than usual, leaned back and whistled. "Son of a, this kid's been busy. I want the letter run for fingerprints." "We don't have a lab, Cole." "Send it to the state. I'll pay out of pocket." Granger raised an eyebrow. "You really care about this girl?" Cole didn't blink. "She reminds me of someone I failed." Granger didn't ask who. He just picked up the phone. On Wednesday, Samantha walked into the school gym for PE and stopped in her tracks. Painted across the floor in giant letters, "Snitches get stitches." Underneath her name, Coach Wilson stood nearby, arms crossed, jaw locked. "Someone's getting expelled for this." Samantha didn't answer. She walked over to the water fountain, filled her bottle, and turned back to the crowd of watching students. Then she laughed, loud, the kind of laugh that says, "You thought this would break me? It didn't." Cole was called in by the sheriff that afternoon. They'd found prints on the threat note. One match. A known associate of Trevor's. His cousin, Marcus Hale. 18. Arrest record in another state. Kicked out of school for harassment. Now living in town, staying under the radar. "We can't arrest him off the note alone," Granger said. "But this gives us cause. We can monitor him, apply pressure." Cole nodded. "Good." Then he added, "I want to see him." "Why?" "To make sure he sees me." That night, Cole drove alone to the house where Marcus Hale was staying. It was a beat-up duplex at the end of a gravel road, backyard full of rusted car parts and beer cans. Marcus answered the door in a wife-beater and socks, stinking of cheap vodka. Cole didn't say a word, just stared at him. Marcus stared back. "You lost or something?" he asked. Cole didn't answer. He stepped forward, just close enough for Marcus to feel it. The weight of him, the steel in his eyes, the invisible warning humming in the air. "I know what you did," Cole said, "and I'm not the cops. You don't want me showing up again." Then he walked away. Marcus didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even breathe, until the truck disappeared down the street. Back in her room, Samantha sat at her desk with her window cracked open and her phone plugged in. She was building a spreadsheet. Names, dates, screenshots, photos. Every girl who'd ever been targeted by Trevor and his crew. She didn't know what to call it yet, but it was growing. Every day someone new messaged her. Someone who'd been afraid, silent. Until now. She wasn't a victim anymore. She was a collector of stories, a builder of evidence, a rising tide. The next day, her mom finally noticed something was different. "You've been smiling more," she said over dinner, "and you haven't worn that gray hoodie all week." Samantha shrugged. "I guess I'm just tired of hiding." Her mom reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "I don't know what you're doing, but I know your dad would be proud." Samantha nodded. She wasn't sure about her dad, but she knew she was proud of herself. Outside, across the street from their house, a car idled for a little too long before pulling away. Max, in the back of Cole's truck down the block, raised his head and growled. The first rock hit the window around 11:42 p.m. Samantha had just climbed into bed, earbuds in, the low hum of a true crime podcast playing to drown out her thoughts. The sound was sharp, glass cracking just enough to freeze her in place. She paused the episode. Then came the second rock, louder. This time, she jumped up and ran to the window. Outside, across the street, a car idled in the shadows. Its headlights were off, but the engine ticked in the night like a warning. Samantha's hand clenched into a fist on instinct. She wasn't scared. Not anymore. But she was furious. She stepped back, grabbed her phone, and hit one name. Cole Davis. He picked up on the second ring. "Someone's outside," she whispered. "They broke my window." "Stay inside," he said, voice already shifting into mission mode. "Don't move. Don't turn on lights." She heard rustling, gear being thrown, keys turning, Max barking once. "I'm on my way." Cole and Max arrived in under 5 minutes. The truck's headlights cut across the street like searchlights as it rolled to a silent stop. Max jumped out before the engine shut off, tail high, nose to the ground. The German Shepherd's entire body was tense, reading the air like a map. Cole didn't knock. He pushed through Samantha's front door just as she opened it, flashlight in one hand, stun baton in the other. "I stayed away from the windows," she said. "But I got this picture." She handed him her phone. The grainy image showed a blurry license plate and the silhouette of a tall figure leaning out the passenger window. Cole's jaw tightened. "You recognize the car?" "No," she said, "but I'll bet it belongs to Trevor or his cousin." Max growled low, facing the window. "They're escalating," Cole muttered. "This wasn't about scaring you anymore. It was a test." "Of what?" "How far they can push." He turned toward her. "They just found out." "Found out what?" "That they pushed the wrong girl." The next morning, Samantha didn't go to school. Cole had called Sheriff Granger himself. Deputies showed up at the house before sunrise, filed a report, examined the broken window, took the rock for prints. They promised to follow up. But everyone in the room knew how that usually went. Cole made a call to a friend in Austin, a private investigator, someone who owed him favors. By lunch, they had a match on the blurry license plate. It belonged to Marcus Hale, Trevor's cousin, registered under a burner address. No surprise. Meanwhile, Samantha sat at Cole's kitchen table, Max curled at her feet. His place wasn't what she expected. It wasn't military gray or cold. It felt lived in. Warm wood paneling, old family photos, a half-finished jigsaw puzzle on the counter. "You know this is getting bigger than just school, right?" she said quietly. Cole nodded as he brewed a fresh pot of coffee. "It already was. You just didn't know it yet. What do we do now?" He turned, setting down a cup in front of her. "Now, we stop waiting." That evening, Cole held the first official meeting of what he now called the Line. They met behind the Veterans Center in the same gravel lot where he first trained Samantha. But this time, there were folding chairs, a cooler with bottled water, a big whiteboard with names, dates, and patterns. 6 teenagers showed up. All had stories. Some had bruises. One girl, Elena, trembled when she spoke. Her brother had dropped out after Trevor's crew cornered him in the locker room. Nobody had believed him. Another boy, Deshaun, said they'd slashed his bike tires twice and left a dead squirrel in his backpack. Samantha stood and told them about the rock, about the window, about the night she didn't flinch. And then she said something nobody expected. "We're not here to fight, not physically. We're here to expose, to record, to post, to push back with light, not fists." Cole nodded in agreement. "Every time they act, we respond with truth, with evidence, and we never stand alone." The kids nodded, quiet, but fired up. Max barked once, like he understood the assignment. By the end of the week, the group had grown to 12. They started calling themselves the Fence, because a fence doesn't fight, but it keeps people safe. They had shifts. 2 people posted near hallways during class changes, watching, filming. Another at lunch. 2 more riding the bus. They weren't confrontational. They weren't aggressive. They were witnesses, and that changed everything. By Monday, Trevor's crew noticed. They started backing off. But not completely. There were still whispers, still rumors, still looks. But now there were eyes on them. Then came Friday. The trap was set. A girl named Kelsey, petite, freshman, quiet, came to Samantha shaking. Trevor had offered her a ride home after practice. He said it would be just them, and he promised a surprise. Samantha asked her one question. "Do you want to stop him?" Kelsey nodded. They went to Cole. That night, Kelsey wore a wire. Cole sat in a parked car across the street with Granger on speakerphone. Deputies were staged 2 blocks away. Max was pacing. Kelsey got into Trevor's car at 6:17 p.m. By 6:34, they had everything. The threats, the coercion, the language. The moment Trevor reached for her leg, Cole hit the signal. Deputies swooped in like hawks. Trevor never saw it coming. He was pulled from the driver's seat, cuffed, and read his rights on the curb while neighbors filmed with their phones. Kelsey cried into Samantha's arms as Cole told her, "You did more than help yourself tonight. You stopped him from doing this again." The arrest made the local news. High school junior arrested for predatory behavior after sting operation. It didn't say his name at first, but everyone knew. And by the next day it was everywhere. The Fence's Instagram account gained 20,000 followers in 24 hours. Students from across the country began sharing stories in the comments. DMs poured in. "How do I start a fence at my school? My brother's going through this too. You gave us hope." Samantha didn't feel like a hero. She just felt whole for the first time in a long time. Trevor's father tried to fight it. He called in lawyers, threatened to sue the school, accused Kelsey of entrapment, claimed Cole manipulated vulnerable teens. But it was too late. The sheriff had the tapes, the school board had the statements, the DA had the files. And the public? They had the truth. That Sunday, Samantha sat on the hood of Cole's truck, Max's head in her lap. The sun was setting over the field behind the Veterans Center, and everything was quiet. "I thought I'd feel more," she said softly. "Happier, or something." Cole sat beside her. "That's the thing about surviving," he said. "It doesn't always feel like a victory. Sometimes it just feels like breathing again." She nodded. "Do you think it's really over?" "No," he said, "but it's the first win." She looked down at Max. "I think your dog might be magic." Cole smiled. "He's just a mirror. He shows people what they already are." Samantha raised an eyebrow. "Then he must see something brave in me." "He does," Cole said. "So do I." That night, Samantha couldn't sleep again, but not because of fear, because of purpose. She opened her laptop and began writing something new. The Fence Starter Guide, a step-by-step for students across the country. How to form a watch group. How to document harassment safely. How to build partnerships with trusted adults and local law enforcement. She titled the file, "Protect Each Other, Speak Loud, Never Alone." Because it wasn't just a school anymore, it was a movement. The Monday after Trevor's arrest, the school didn't feel like the same place anymore. Posters that once read, "Go Warriors," were now layered with flyers that said, "You're not alone and join the fence." The whispers in the hallways had changed tone, too. They weren't about gossip or fear anymore. They were questions, curiosity, admiration. "Is that her?" "Yeah, that's Samantha Jordan. Dude, she took that guy down with a dog and a vet. She didn't even flinch. Total legend." Samantha walked through the hallway that morning with her chin high and Max's paw print patch sewn onto her backpack strap. She didn't wear her hoodie anymore. Didn't need it. Even teachers nodded as she passed. But while everything on the surface felt victorious, Cole knew better. He watched from across the street in his truck, Max panting beside him. "This isn't the end," he muttered. Max barked once, short and sharp, like he agreed. Back home, Samantha's mom was starting to notice the changes too. "You're home less," she said one night over microwave lasagna. "You've got people calling, showing up with notebooks. Last night, there was a camera crew parked on the lawn." "They're student journalists," Samantha said, "from Austin. They're doing a documentary." Her mom raised a skeptical eyebrow. "You sure you're not running for office?" Samantha smiled. "Not unless I can wear jeans on the campaign trail." Her mom laughed, but then her smile faded. "I'm proud of you, honey, but I want you to be careful. There's a difference between being brave and being burned out." "I'm okay." "You keep saying that." "I mean it." Her mom paused. "Okay, but if you ever need to hit pause, it's okay to take a breath." Samantha nodded. She understood the concern, but she also knew something else. When you're finally heard after years of silence, the last thing you want to do is go quiet again. The next day, the fence had its biggest meeting yet. Over 30 students crowded into the old rec hall behind the Veteran Center. Cole stood at the front, arms crossed, watching the room buzz with energy. Kids shared stories, passed around new flyers, coordinated ride shares, and booth setups for the school's upcoming fall festival. Then Samantha stood up and tapped her marker on the whiteboard. "We're adding a new rule today," she said. "It's called Always Two. Nobody walks alone. Not to the office, not after practice, not even across the parking lot. If we're going to make this work long-term, we have to protect each other constantly." Heads nodded all around the room. It wasn't just a club anymore. It was a culture. And Samantha? She wasn't just the girl with the dog and the soldier anymore. She was the heartbeat of it all. Later that week, the first real sign of pushback came. Trevor's father filed a civil suit against the school, claiming defamation, loss of scholarship, and emotional distress. His legal team released a statement accusing an unstable veteran and his dog of influencing impressionable youth and creating a hostile learning environment. They never said Cole's name, but the implication was clear. Within hours, Cole's phone was lighting up non-stop. Reporters, law enforcement buddies, even an old commander from his time overseas. "You good?" one of them asked. Cole replied with one word, "Always." But he wasn't, because for all the armor he wore on the outside, that accusation hit a scar on the inside. The one labeled failure. The one from years ago when he didn't come home in time to save his own daughter. He sat on the porch that night, Max curled at his feet. The dog looked up, ears twitching. Cole stared at the stars and whispered, "I'm not messing this one up." Things came to a head on a Thursday night, around 9:15 p.m. Samantha was finishing a call with a school in Michigan that wanted to start their own fence chapter when her mom burst through the front door, covered in blood. Not hers. Her scrubs were torn. Her purse was missing. She was barefoot. Samantha dropped the phone and rushed over. "What happened?" she shouted. I was walking to my car at the hospital," her mom said through shaking breaths. "He had a knife. He tried to grab my bag. I screamed. He ran." Samantha held her mom tight as she sobbed. Later that night, after EMTs bandaged her mom's scraped knees and bruised wrist, the police sat in their living room, nodding, taking notes. "I'll need to get that surveillance footage," one officer said. Another asked, "Was there anyone else around? Anyone you recognized?" Her mom shook her head. But Samantha knew. She knew exactly who it was meant for. The message wasn't subtle anymore. Cole showed up 15 minutes later. He didn't knock, just walked straight in. When he saw Samantha's mom, his jaw clenched. He looked at Samantha. "We're done playing defense." Samantha nodded. "What's the plan?" "Simple," Cole said. "We're going to shine every light we have." By Saturday, the fence had launched a campaign called Protect Her Too. It wasn't just about Samantha anymore. It was about moms walking alone after night shift, sisters taking the bus, neighbors unlocking their doors in dark parking lots. The group printed shirts, launched live streams, tag-teamed with a local women's safety nonprofit. And then came the fundraiser. In 48 hours, they raised over $40,000 to install motion lights and camera systems for hospital parking lots and public school exits across their county. Samantha's mom was the face of the campaign. "I didn't ask to be part of this," she said during the video interview. "But if my pain can protect one more person, I'll wear it like a badge." Meanwhile, Cole was working his own angles. Through a connection at a military K-9 training unit, he set up a new program, Safe Walks, where trained veterans and service dogs would escort hospital staff, teachers, and anyone vulnerable walking alone after hours. Max became the mascot. Within 2 weeks, it rolled out in 5 towns. And the wait list? It stretched across 3 states. On a quiet Sunday morning, Samantha stood outside the hospital with her mom. Cole was on her left, Max on her right. They watched as the first batch of Safe Walk volunteers stepped out of a tan van. Veterans in matching shirts, holding leashes, smiling like they were finally home again. Reporters stood by. The mayor gave a speech. A ribbon was cut. Samantha's mom whispered, "You built all this?" Samantha shook her head. "We built it." That night, Cole pulled into his driveway with Max and sat behind the wheel a little longer than usual. On the seat beside him was a letter from the VA. It offered a full-time position leading community outreach and public safety development programs using retired K-9 units. He hadn't told Samantha yet, but he already knew his answer. Because, for the first time in years, Cole Davis had found a mission again, one worth staying for. Samantha's room glowed with late-night light. She was editing a welcome video for new Fence chapters, sipping cold coffee and humming along to a playlist of Angry Girl rock. Her phone buzzed. A message from someone she didn't know. "My little sister goes to Westfield. She saw you speak. She came out about what happened to her in 8th grade. Just wanted to say thank you." Samantha stared at the message, feeling the weight of it settle over her like a warm blanket. She tapped out a reply. "Tell her we believe her, and we're with her. Always." The world wasn't fixed, but it was different now. And for Samantha Jordan, that was enough. For now. The first snow came early that year. Just a thin dusting, barely enough to stick to the sidewalks. But in Texas, snow felt like a miracle. Samantha Jordan stood on the steps of Westfield High that morning, the sky bright and quiet, her breath fogging in front of her face. She zipped her coat, pulled her backpack up higher, and smiled as Max trotted beside her, his tail swaying like a metronome. Students were filing into school, some still sleepy, some taking selfies with the snow. But there was something different in the air. No tension, no fear, just life. Exactly 1 year ago, Samantha had walked into this school wearing a baggy gray hoodie, trying to disappear. Now, people waved. A freshman girl offered her a donut hole. Even Mr. Reynolds, the grumpy janitor, gave her a nod of approval. Amazing what a year could do. Inside the gym, banners hung from the rafters. Fence Conference 2026. Build, defend, believe. Tables were set up, volunteers moved in rhythm, and students from over 40 high schools across 4 states were arriving for the first ever statewide summit of the Fence. And Samantha was the keynote speaker. She stood backstage in jeans, boots, and a t-shirt that read, "Speak loud. Walk together." Her hands were steady. Her voice was clear. She wasn't nervous. She was ready. Cole stood near the bleachers, arms folded, a proud grin sneaking across his face. Max sat beside him, decked out in a brand-new tactical harness with an American flag stitched over his ribs. "Doesn't feel that long ago, does it?" said Sheriff Granger, walking up beside him. "Nope," Cole said, "but she's not the same girl." "She changed the game," Granger said. "For everyone." Cole nodded. "She saved more than just herself." The lights dimmed. The mic buzzed. Samantha stepped onto the stage. The crowd went still. She looked out over the sea of faces, students, parents, teachers, cops, nurses, veterans, people who believed, people who had fought, people who had been silent and now stood tall. And then she spoke. "When I first started the Fence," she said, "I didn't plan on becoming anyone's leader. I just didn't want to be scared anymore." She paused. "But fear is a powerful thing. It controls you. It isolates you. It tells you that speaking up will make it worse." Some heads nodded. "But here's the thing no one tells you. When you speak up, you give other people permission to speak too. And that echo, that's where change begins." She pointed to a slide projected behind her. A map covered in push pins, each one a school, shelter, or nonprofit, now partnered with the Fence. "From this little town, we created something real, something strong, something loud." Applause thundered through the gym, and she wasn't finished. "See, the bullies, the predators, they don't expect resistance. They expect silence. And when we stay quiet, they win. But when one person says, "No, not anymore," it makes room for hundreds more to say it too. She looked down for a second, then smiled. "My name is Samantha Jordan. I used to be a target. Now I'm a fighter. I stand with the fence. And today, I invite all of you to do the same." The crowd erupted. Tears, hugs, applause that wouldn't end. And through it all, Max barked twice, like he knew. After the conference, as kids loaded into buses and parents snapped photos, Cole found Samantha standing in the parking lot, her coat zipped to her chin, eyes on the snowy horizon. "You did good," he said. She looked up. "Thanks." He handed her a small box, wrapped in faded camo cloth. Inside was a collar, not Max's, but one worn years ago by Cole's first canine partner, Sergeant Blue. A dog that had saved lives in a war far from home. "I want you to have this," Cole said. Samantha looked at it, tears stinging her eyes. "You sure?" "I was waiting for the right person," he said. Turns out, it wasn't a soldier. It was a kid with fire in her chest and steel in her spine. She hugged him. Max barked again, softly this time, as if giving his blessing. Spring came quickly. Samantha graduated in May, her cap and gown customized with patches from fence chapters across the country. She was offered full-ride scholarships, public safety, social work, even law. She chose behavioral psychology. "I want to understand the ones who hurt people," she told Cole, "so I can stop them before they do." Cole gave her the biggest smile she'd ever seen on his face. "I like the sound of that." That summer, Samantha interned at the state capitol, helping draft a bill that would require every school in Texas to offer student-led peer safety organizations, with faculty support and law enforcement partners. They called it the Fence Act, and it passed unanimously. On the anniversary of the night her mom was attacked, Samantha returned to the hospital. Her mom now walked confidently, mace clipped to her keychain, and volunteered twice a week at Safe Walk. "Funny," she said, linking arms with her daughter. "A year ago, I was a statistic. Now I'm security." Samantha grinned. "Told you we were building something bigger." By the time fall came back around, the fence had over 200 chapters nationwide. Some schools formed sister groups like the Shield, Project Light, and Walk Free. They coordinated. They shared resources. They ran regional training days and digital safety workshops. Cole was officially hired by the Department of Public Safety to consult on youth programs, and Max, now retired, spent most days sunbathing on the porch or visiting local classrooms as a therapy dog. But when he saw Samantha, he still jumped like a pup. One Sunday afternoon, Samantha stood in front of a new group of students in California. Kids who had read about her online, watched the videos, and reached out for help. She started with the same line every time. "You don't have to be the loudest voice, just the first." They listened, and they believed her. Some nights, Samantha still had trouble sleeping. Sometimes she woke with echoes of the past in her ears, a slammed locker, a cruel whisper, the shattering of glass. But those moments passed, because now, when she opened her eyes, she saw messages from kids saying, "You helped me speak up." She saw Safe Walk volunteers sharing photos of nighttime patrols. She saw schools adding security lighting and lockers with built-in panic buttons. She saw change, real, messy, powerful change. And she saw Max, always Max, loyal, watchful, a symbol of something pure, protection without ego, love without words. The last chapter of her book, yes, she'd written one, ended with a quote. "Heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear fur. Sometimes they wear trauma like armor. And sometimes they're just a girl with a backpack, walking toward the future she refused to be robbed of." Samantha Jordan didn't just survive. She built a legacy, and she made sure it would never walk alone. Thank you for following Samantha's journey and the powerful bond between a young girl, a veteran soldier, and a canine who helped rebuild a broken community. This story wasn't just about standing up. It was about staying up, about building something that lasts. Every share, every comment, every moment you spent with us helped bring this story to life. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had a moment where someone unexpectedly stood up for you? Or when you decided enough was enough and took a stand for someone else? Share your story in the comments. We're listening. And remember, you're never alone when you walk with purpose. From all of us at Heroes for Animals,